Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalaq. Alongside me, I have the former president of Somalia, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, and we're extremely grateful for him to come today. I'm currently the president of the University Somali Society. Alhamdulillah, this year we've had a significant growth in our membership, and we thought of doing something quite interesting, and we decided on every Friday from now on to interact and have real conversations with prominent members of the Somali community. And we think there's a bit of a gap between the elders of Somalia and the sort of youth of the West. And we think this is a good way of sort of bridging the gap. Hopefully we'll aim for this to be as interesting and as interactive as possible. We want to also thank Sheikh Shako for inspiring us for this. This is it's all down to you.
Shout out, Sheikh.
So alhamdulillah, hopefully we can have some opening introductions from our guests today.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. يعني maanta maalin runtii aad iyo aad u weyn waxay muhiim noogu tahay aniga khaasatan inaan la kulmo dhalinyarada Soomaaliyeed ee jaamacaddan wax ka barato Oxford University aad iyo aad ay macno weyn igu leedahay waana idinka mahad celinaa fursaddan aad siiseen waxa intaas dheer dabcan waxa wax ugu fiican oo la sameeyo haysaan oo ah in wax la barto mustaqbalka iyo bari la isu diyaariyo adinkuna taas ku jirtaan marka waa idinku hambalyeynaa annaga Soomaaliya ka nimiday yani duruufo iska gaar ah oo dib badan Soomaaliya ka jira laakiin guud ahaan rajada Soomaalida iyo Soomaalinimada iyo dawladda iyo kullu way fiican tahay dal degan oo nabad ah oo siyaasad ahaan u degan oo dhaqaale ahaan u degan oo maxaan ku yiraahdaa dimuqraadi ah oo horumar weyn sameeyo ayaa Soomaaliya ka soo muuqda waxaan rajo ka qabnaa mar dhow insha Allah in Soomaaliya cusub ay imaan doonto idinkana ay idin baahan tahay inaad Soomaalidaas cusub dhalinyaradii la jaan qaadi lahayd oo meel gaarsiineed inaad tihiin marka si fiican wax loo barto marka waa idin mahad celinaa waxaan diyaar u ahay inaan idin la wadaago wixii waay aragnimo iyo ogaal ah oo ku saabsan Soomaaliya hadii la aad u mahadsantiin.
Thank you very much. Just to make this clear before we begin, the format of this will be quite open. Unfortunately, not everyone here can speak perfect Somali, so it will be in English. But as you obviously heard, there will be responses in Somali. I think I'll kick off to Jibril.
So, full transparency, we've sort of prepared some questions that we all agreed upon, like the Oxford students. So, our first sort of topic of discussion is going to be on the diaspora. So, it's like us here in the West and our sort of perspective on what we can do. So, the first question is, what role do you think the diaspora community in the West should play in Somalia?
Well, waa mahadsan tahay qurba joogta Soomaalida ee caalamka ku nool dabcan Soomaaliya door weyn ay ku leeyihiin doorkaasi door dhaqaale iyo business bas ma ahana door siyaasadeed waaye maanta dalka Soomaaliya dadka madaxda waa u sareeyahay waa dad maxaan ku raadayay diaspora ama qurba joog ah madaxweynaha ah ra'iisul wasaaraha ah wasiirro badan oo xukuumadda ka tirsanaa ah gudoomiye baarlamaanka maalin la bedelay ayaa ahay saraakiisha muxuu ahay ciidamada joogta iyo security-ga dadka madaxda ka ah intooda badan diaspora marka de role weyn ay ku leeyihiin muxuu ahay Soomaaliya dawladnimadeeda dhinaca dhaqaalaha door ay ku leeyihiin dhinaca siyaasadda door ay ku leeyihiin dhinaca kale oo administration maamulka caadiga ah xafiisyada dawladana way ka shaqeeyaan marka runtii aad iyo aad ay door aad iyo aad u ballaaran oo mug weyn ay ku leeyihiin Soomaaliya waxaan rabnaa kaas inuu sii ziyaado oo sii kordhaan rabnaa waana rajaynaynaa insha Allah hadii la yiraahdo.
So, I mean, one follow-up from that is that, so we know there's statistics that say, the World Bank statistics that say that the Somali diaspora community, so now numbers more than 2 million, they contribute 1.4 billion US annual dollars in remittance payments. So that's essentially the main form of contribution that we have. There are people back home in Somalia who say, you guys are outsiders, we know our people, we know what's wrong with us, stop interfering. What sort of response would you have to those people?
Maya, runtii muxuu ahay waa run dhaqaalahaas muxuu ahay aad u badan oo ay dadka qurba joogta Soomaaliya ay geliyaan waa arin xaqiiqo oo dhab ah oo jirto dagaalkaas aniga runtii aad uma maqlin ma ogi oo de waa la isdacaydeeyaa waa jiraan la laayado dadka dhalinyarada ah ee jaamacadaha caalamka ee waaweyn wax kusoo bartay Soomaaliya kusoo noqdo fursadii ayay ka hor istaageen dhalinyarada gudaha wax ku barata Soomaaliya iyo waxa dadsa discussion socdo laakiin it's a healthy discussion ma wax cadaawad oo maxaan ku raada magaciisa ma jiraan dabcan caalamka diasporada doorar ay ku leeyihiin dal walbana si uu diasporadiisa iyo dadkiisa gudaha ula dhaqmaa Soomaaliyana intaas bay ka mid tahay maybe in arimaas laga doodo dialogue laga furo sidii maxaan ku raada loo wada shaqeyn lahaa ee aan loo tartami lahayn competition inaanay noqon arinta collaboration inay noqoto laga shaqeeyo way u baahan tahay laakiin khilaaf weyn conflict weyn oo jirto hadda aniga aan runtii garanayo ma jirto laakiin waa arin u baahan in maxaan ku raadayay laga furo dialogue laga furo oo laga wada hadlo u baahan waa
I think there's also like this quite positive discussion so far, but there's a lot of things that the diaspora like commit to that are negative. So for example, whenever there's like a Qabil conflict, they tend to be the ones that give the money. They tend to be requested constantly for funds. And do you think, as a community, how comfortable are we with that? And do you think this is like an issue on its own?
No, diaspora they were Somali. wax kasta Soomaalidu qabtana way qabaan Soomaaliya haduu qabiil ka jiro diasporadana qabiilku ka jiraya Soomaaliya hadii muxuu ay wadaad iyo barasho diineed iyo yani la tacaatuf ila tacaasub diineed haduu jiro diasporadu way lahaanay marka wax kasta oo dadka Soomaalida mushaakilaadka ay qabanaan dhan diasporadu ay qabtaa strengthska iyo opportunitieska Soomaalidu ay leedahay diaspora waxay kala leedahay marka waa run diasporada kaliya laguma eedeyn karo in ay dagaalada wax ka qayb qaateen dadkii Soomaaliya jooga dagaalada ka qayb qaadanay طبعا dad Soomaaliyeed oo Soomaaliya jooga oo dagaalada in lacag ku bixiyaan qarash ku bixiyaan diiday ayaa jiro sidoo kalena diaspora waa laga helaa dad diiday ayaga in qarash ku bixiyaan marka mujtamaca Soomaaliga bay qayb ka yihiin wixii mujtamaca Soomaaliga dhexdiisa ka jiro dhan diaspora Soomaalida meel kasta joogaan way ka jirayaan marka taasi ma aha eed gaar oo diaspora ay leedahay ma aha
So anyone else have any comments? All right. So following on from that
Hashim.
Go ahead.
Hashim.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Hashim, I'm a student. Do you think it should be the goal of every Somali person in the diaspora to go back to Somalia in their lifetime?
Well, of course, Soomaalida waxay ku maamaadaa shimbirta haday duusho waa in dhulka soo degtaa because waxay cunu lahayd dhulka ka yaalo shimbirka duula irsaaqadiisa waa dhulka la dhaha moogta diaspora yes dalkana timaadeen qaarkiin halkan ay ku dhasheen qof muwaadin oo dalkan degan oo siyaasadiisa ka qayb gali karo oo dhaqaalihiisa ka qayb gali karo waatiin laakiin at the end of the day Soomaaliya tiin marka anigu waa qabaa qof kasta Soomaali ah ama ha yimaado dibadda ama ha ku dhasho dibadda inuu Soomaali ku noqdo si uu originkiisa iyo asalkiisa uu u barto traditionskiisa dhaqankiisa dadkiisa way of life ka dadkiisa uu u barto u haayo because waxa la yiraahdaa qofka meesha ka yimiday aan garanaynin noloshiisa meesha u socdana ma garan karo marka aniga waxaan arkaa inay aad muhiim u tahay inaad dalka ku xirnaatiin oo ka warqabtiin duruufo gaar ah amni darro waxyaabo oo ay jiraan laakiin meelo badan oo amni ah ayaa jira dalka meelo badan oo la tagi karaa jiro markii qabiilka la isku dili jiray hadda waa dhamaaday reer hebel tahay daraadeed hadda Soomaalidu badan isuma disho incidents can happen everywhere laakiin ma jirto in reer hebel tahay daraadeed waa lagu dilaa iyo wax la yiraahdo marka hadii meelaha qaarkood amni darro looga baqayo meelaha qaarkood amniga uu fiican yahay ama uu dhaamaa jirto hala tago laakiin in lagu xirnaado dalka aad u muhiim u yahay ina adig isku xirnaataan aad ay muhiim u tahay aad muhiim u tahay Soomaaliya waxaad wax ugu tari kartaan marka inta macna ka leedihiin laakiin inta dad macna kala haynina Soomaaliya wax badan uma qaban kartaan dalkan ina la noolaataan dadkiisa si fiican una noolaataan respect gareysaan oo ilaalisaan qawaaniintiisa iyo traditionskiisa iyo wixiisa aad muhiim u yihiin inta wax ka noqoto iyo inta Soomaaliya ku noqoto bana laakiin qof kasto Soomaaliya xataa dalkan uu siyaasadiisa galo oo madax ka noqdo once a year ama twice a year inuu Soomaaliya tago waa aad aniga aan taladaas oo soo jeedina way fiican tahay Somalia is the home.
I think we can all agree with that sentiment, pretty much. Okay, so the next question we have, so this is related to what we just discussed. Where do you think the gaps are for young entrepreneurs? Because there's a lot of us in the West who are like business focused and we want to see where the opportunities lie. So where do you think the biggest opportunity in Somalia currently is? Like in what sort of industry or where it's all the biggest problems are.
As in Somalia is quite entrepreneurial already.
Yeah.
So in terms of fintech, there's something called Z services, which is used
So it's
throughout
financial
the country.
technology.
Yeah.
So another example is very
Yeah.
good.
Well, again, you know, meesha qofka entrepreneur-ka of course fursadaha opportunities-ku uu raadina meesha opportunity ka jirtana uu galaa laakiin haddana dadka kala dooq waay waxaa laga yaabaa meel inay fursad ka jirto opportunity ka jirto laakiin aniga aanan rabin fieldigaas technology ma rabo computer iyo jinigiis wixiisa ma rabo supermarket aan rabaa inaan inta ka furto warshad kalluunka hagaajisaan rabaa inaan inta ka samaysto maxaa qofku it's matter of choice laakiin waxyaabaha hadda oo badanaa Soomaaliya ka jira small business yar dad dhalinyaro oo in badan oo kamid ah diaspora ay yihiin iyo kuwa gudaha wax ku bartay oo aqoon la ayaa hadda isku tagay waxay abuureen jawi ay ku saacidayaan qofkii rabo inuu start up sameeyo اسبوع maxay caliya qaadi doono dhawaan hadda shiray xamar ku qaban qaabiyo hayaan oo ku marti qaadeen dad badan oo caalami ah oo eedaha shirkadaha waaweyn caalamka Microsoft iyo Google iyo maxaan ku raay marti qaadeen oo loo ogolaaday in loo soo diro delegationska looga qayb galo soo dhalinyaradaas in badan oo kamid ah dhalinyarada diasporada ka soo noqotay waay businesska badan oo macno leh oo maanta Soomaaliya ka jira haduu yahay supermarket haduu yahay restaurants iyo cafeteria iyo waxaan iyo all of inta badan dad diaspora ran gareeyo so it's already there diaspora way joogaan qofku inuu inta tago marketka research gareeyo dooqiisa oo raaco business oo furta Soomaaliya wax diidaya ma jiraan yes risk is involved like wherever there is a risk involved the benefits or the profits are always high.
Yeah, and there's a big risk. Big opportunity.
Arrinta ku saabsan ah.
Soomaaliya marka hore dhaqaalaheedu wuxuu ku saleysnaa reer guuraa almost 70% waxaa laga jiray mataqaana waa nomadic marka the largest employer wuxuu ahaan jiray mataqaana nomadic uu ahaan jiray waaga
xoolaha beeraha
soddon sano ugu dambeysay taas waa isbedeshay dadkii magaalada soo wada galeen now we have 70% of Somalis are youth and they are mostly in the city. That means we need new dynamics. We need new kind of job market. Job market is traditional kaha. Hadaan dib u raacno ahaa beero xoolo warshado ahaa. Dabcan sidii hore loo shaqeyn jiray loogama sii shaqeyn karo. Waa in qaab casri looga shaqeeyaa. Waa agro business waaweyn la abuuraa oo mataqaana very modern oo mataqaana biyaha dhaqaaleeyo oo mataqaana productivity kii hore ka sareeyo. xoolihii aan sii deyn jirno suuq raaci jiray sidii hore laguma hayn karo xoolaha intaan xoolaha ayuu aan dhoofin jirnay sidii hore looma dhoofin karo markaan waa in la qalaa harga laga faa'iidaystaa marka there are a lot of opportunities mataqaana in addition to that adduunyada markaan iska becoming mataqaana much smaller and much mataqaana integrated marka in dhaqaalo ku mataqaana salaysan regionka iyo mataqaana iyo surrounding in la shaqeeyo u baahan tahay waxyaabaha isleeyahay Soomaaliya mataqaana for example waa unique market noqon karta xagga shaqada for example hadda fiirsan India kale waxa uu weyn ku soo baxay waxa kamid ah call centers sababta luqadda Ingiriiska aad u yaqaanaan maanta Soomaaliya waxa laga heli karaa 100 luqadood oo kala gedisan dadku hadda kala laga heli karaa waa adduunyada meel aan laga aysan jirin haba yaraatee suurtagal waxa in la helo Soomaaliya degan Brazil ama degan China ama degan Korea ama degan mataqaana maxay tahay call centeradii India laga furi jiray waxay noqdeen qaali Soomaaliya waa ka jawaabtay marka inaan fikirno waa mataqaana out of box mataqaana aan keeno new industries ma ku jiri inaan baabaarno ma maxaa abuuri karna oo kuwa ka duwan oo suuq cusub abuuri kara oo dad dhaqaale cusub abuuri kara oo aan adduunyada lacag haddii aad furto maqaayad ee Soomaaliya kaliya ay cunayso waxa kuma aad ku dhigto Soomaaliya dad furto maqaayad ay dadka ajnabiga kale cuni karaan that means you are getting money from outside marka waa inaan ka fikirnaa businessyo dunida kale lacag noogu keeni karo ma anaga in maqaayad kale ku furnaa ku mashquulna maaha laakiin wadankaygu waa very rich waa very mataqaana waa wadan virgin ah u baahan in waxyaabo badan hadda la abuuro marka ragiinaan meelaha wax ku bartay weliba jaamacadaha fiican ka soo baxay linkas kale networks kale you have a lot of opportunities mataqaana Soomaaliya aad wax ku biirsaa.
So moving on to something that
Ali waxaan sheegin arintii oo
Soomaaliya sanadii u dambeeyay dad badan ku soo noqday ana la hadlayo IBM ka shaqeynayay 22 years yani yaa ka shaqeynay
IBM.
marka u shaqeynay yaan ka soo noqday dhalinyaro sidoo kale jirto ka soo noqotay IBM iyo meel kale ka yimid oo Hargeysa ka furay hay'ad la yiraahdo Innovate oo ayadana support garaysa innovation iyo mataqaana small business iyo mataqaana startups ka xamar waxaan ka furay mid la yiraahdo iRise iHub iyo ii sheeg maxay startup grid oo yarkii ayna dadliyo madax ka ah wiiga soo socda xamar waxaa lagu qaban doonaa waxa la yiraahdo Muqdisho Tech Summit oo summit aad u ballaaran oo ilaa 5 qof soo qayb gali doonaan Apple imaanayso Google Microsoft it's a big mataqaana moving forward ragga sameeyeen waa rag adeegyada lamida dibadaha ka soo noqday diaspora markii waxa u baahan markii inaad fadhiso mataqaana aad wada keentaa
This is new. Not only it's technology that is taking some sort of roots in Somalia, but it's the name of Somalia itself. 5,000 people are getting together in Somalia discussing about technology and how technology can be inside Somalia itself is image building, it's rebranding Somalia. So this kind of innovative thinking is what's more important for the Somali of today. So it's not important that these guys, they will create a lot of employment opportunity and all this. In the future, they will definitely, they will support new people, attract. It's some sort of pull factor towards Somalia. But what's more important is the rebranding the image of Somalia. It's not, today I shared it with the students, it's not the Black Hawk Down and the Captain Phillips only. There is a different Somalia there, so we need to expose that different Somalia.
By asking, when we as the diaspora invest back or Somalis themselves start up businesses, what you find, especially in Somalia, is that it doesn't really filter down via taxes to the people. I think I was reading something about the majority of Somalis' taxes coming from ports and like traditional things where the government has control and not necessarily through other avenues like income. So I was wondering, what would you say about the filtering down of our efforts in Somalia, other than like just employment?
We come from a time where there was no taxation at all. Even the ports and the customs, there were no taxation at all. There were no systems at all. It was part of my speech today in 2012. I was elected as the president in September 2012. So in 2012, we have October, November, and December. We started to set up a budget for that 3 months, that quarter of the year. Since then, the last quarter of 2012 until today, every year there is a budget that the government sets, takes to the parliament endorses, and by the end of the year, accounts are taken back to the parliament and the settlement and everything is set. Establish the central bank, the accountant general, the auditor general, all types of public finance management entities are there, and the revenue is increasing. The first year, 2013, approximately it was 50 something, less than 60 million. The whole year, the budget of the government was 60 million. But today it's just getting closer to $300 million for 4 years. So things are improving. Of course, we started with the customs duties, port services, and all this as the tax or revenue system that was there. But today is completely different. Today, VAT taxes are collected by the government, income taxes are collected by the. Still, it's not full-fledged and it's not everywhere, but it started already. And people using technology, machines, and all this. So things are coming back gradually. So it will take a little time, but at the end, things are coming back in the normal way. Yeah.
So we all know Somalia is a country with a lot of potential and a lot of resources, and this has attracted many foreign investors. Do you think in the long run this is a good idea, or do you see it as giving up control of our country and it might come back?
What we need is this country it used to be one of the best countries in the African continent in terms of everything. Somalia was much, much better than many other African countries that today are more advanced or seems to be advanced. But we regressed, we went back. We are very far backward than where we were when we were getting the independence in the 1960s. So this country needs fast-tracking the development, fast-tracking the rebuilding, the reconstruction of the country. But today, as we are in terms of financial capacity, in terms of technical capacity, we cannot utilize some of the potential areas that we had. So we need international investment. International investment in a way that's useful to Somalia, in a way that will not create problems to the tomorrow generations. Of course, we should not make a quick fix or we should not rush, but we need the international investment to come to Somalia so that we can benefit our resources, we can benefit our strategic locations. Many of the resources that we have, they need high tech, which Somalis of today is not possible. You need a lot of investment, foreign direct investment, in order to get this thing. So all in all, we need the international, but with caution. We need to attract international investment with caution, of course, so that the future generation will not suffer because of inappropriate decisions that we made today.
Okay, so moving on to something that's a bit closer to home, at least London, whatever. Okay, so Somali knife crime and gun crime has skyrocketed in urban areas. So more than 14,000 knife-related offences took place in London last year. This disproportionately affected the Somali community here. So what do you think the source of this problem is, and what advice would you give to sort of help, like,
well, this is a good question, but that's the question I was supposed to ask you.
Yeah.
Why it's like that here. But, you know, the young generation like you guys, I think, is much better than the generation who came here as a young. One of the serious problems I heard, and it's understandable, is the age placement of the education. Earlier, people come from Somalia, where maybe they've never been in school or they have been very basic schooling. And when they came here, they were asked, how old are you? And they said, I'm 15 years old. And then, okay, you go to that grade. And a grade that he cannot perform or do anything, so he has to drop. And once you drop, then this is vicious circle. Again, starts. Things will go like that. Maybe that's one reason I was told by some people who told me that they make some sort of research. Maybe the broken family, mother and father who disagreed, and the father chased it away from the house, and it's the mother only. And maybe some people claim, who made the research, that that's why always the number of girls who are good, educated, is more than the boys. Because mothers cannot handle the boys, but they can handle the girls. The father who was supposed to handle the boy, maybe is not there, something like that. But the reality is, the young generation is much better than the generation who came here as a young people. So, but whatever, Somalia is the home for those who dropped. Somalia is the home for those who studied and who did a good career here in Europe. Somalia needs both.
Yeah.
But the crime is not acceptable anywhere. It's not acceptable here, it's not acceptable in Somalia. And maybe here, there is also maybe, because of being a very, very advanced world, civilized, maybe some of the laws or some of the regulations that exist might not be supporting our mindset, our way of thinking, our way of life as well. But whatever it is, crime is not something that's preferred for anywhere, anywhere, any place in the world.
Okay, I think we can all go to you.
Yeah, I've just got a question. What do you think about the practice of duck and Ellis, like when you send the child to Somalia, if they misbehave in over here, for example?
Well, it's good. In Somalia, rehabilitation centers are there. some of them private, owned by people. And there is no regulatory framework that standardizes and makes things to happen in everywhere equally at the same time. So it's all about ijtihad, someone who's trying his best to make this rehabilitation center good. The government has established a rehabilitation center for those who come back from Al-Shabaab, not those who come back from diaspora. But the rehabilitation centers, private rehabilitation centers, mainly the parents, they take their kids voluntarily to there. Some of the places, they are good. They psychologically, they treat the boys, they expose to them the culture of Somalia, they expose to them the religious thinking in a moderate way to learn the Islamic thought, the Islamic ideology. So the rehabilitation centers, all of them are not the same. But the idea of introducing or rehabilitating boys or girls who drop here in the education or who want to practice of those bad habits is a good idea. It's a good idea. But the rehabilitation should not be, rehabilitation center should not be a source of punishment. No, that will not help. Yeah. But sort of change the person to rethink who he is and take his mind back and become someone who is useful to himself and to the society. That's good.
So related to this, we'll sort of go into the sort of social issues within Somalia now. So the first question, so the Qabil system, this is like a system which is sort of entrenched, sort of baked into like Somali culture, that sort of permeates every part of our society. So like, how do you see this sort of system developing in Somalia over the next few decades?
Well, the issue of Qabil, Qabil or clan is not bad as such, because it's part of our social system, social structure, the way we are built as a society. And it has so many useful. But the question is, this system of clan was established in the rural area. And it was established for reason, good reasons, that it provides to the people. But the problem now, at 21st century that we're seeing is that we are using this tool in the wrong place. That's why it's problem. Qabil has nothing to do with politics. And our way of life, all of our way of life originates from the rural area, Baadiya. And whatever there is no in the Baadiya or in the rural area is not a Somali. If you go to the cities, if you go to Somali language, all those things that does not exist in the rural area, they don't have a Somali name. Al-Bab, Babur, Dar, Kursi, Mis, Sarir, all of them is not Somali language. Simply because we don't have it there in the rural area.
Just out of interest, what are the words for that?
Yeah. So one thing that we failed to do is we have not bring our own nomenclature. Instead of saying sahan, maybe we should have said hero. Instead of saying jerrycan, maybe we should have said deal or han or something like that in a modern sense. In so magaaleyno yani wixii aan baadiyaha ku haysan, we didn't, ma sameyn. So politics, there's no politics in the rural area. It's a traditional setup, and the Qabil, the hair, dhaqan, all these are the norms that we come to in Somalia. We establish a modern state with its rules and regulations. Laga soo minguuriyey reer galbeedka, all of them. The rule of law today, we use the laws, the structures of the laws, the nomenclatures of the laws that we use, is all of them, they come from the colonial. You go to Hargeisa today, you will see common law is what the people say. You go to Mogadishu or Kismayo, and you will see the Germanic law, the Latin one, is the one that is used. So, qabiilka marka meesha uu ku liito, the weakness of the clan is when it comes to politics. Clan politics is the problem. It's not the clan. Clan, when it is in its own setting, it has useful attributes, useful variables, useful factors ay leedahay oo dadka Soomaalida ee baadiyaha degan ay manaafic badan ugu jirto. waana annagana waaba wuxuu applicable nagu leeyahayba midii quraanka uu sheegay oo la tacaarafuda ah inna ja'alnaakum shu'uuban wa qabaa'ila la tacaarafu laakiin maxaa lagu xijiyay inna akramakum 'inda Allahi atqaakum waxa ilaahay agtiisa waxa idinku karaamo badan midka ilaahay Allah ka cabsiga uu ku weeyahay laakiin qabiilkana ku hoos waa reer hebel waa reer qurac waa reer qansax waa reer muxuu ahay magaciisa in la yiraahdo markii la siyaasadeeyay marka that's a problem markuu qabiilka oo keenay. So now we are trying to move away from clan in the politics. That's why we're establishing political parties. Well, that's why we're advocating for the electoral system. That's why we're advocating for the constitution and constitutionality. So we're trying to move the politics away from the clan influence. It will take time, but it will happen.
As I have sort of comment on that. So like, we do see like the growth of political parties now and like there's less independence. But as in we have discussions sometimes and to us it's a bit of a facade because beneath it it's just the same game happening. So for example, we have a theory here that the real problem here is just money. So wealth, economic power. So because if you are living in Somalia right now and you have your leg broken and you need money, who do you go to? You go to your qabil to raise money. If you have conflict and you need security, because there's no state institution, you're gonna go to qabil to have that security. If you need a job and you need some network, whatever, you're gonna go through your qabil system. So in order for you to want to change that system, you can't because you're trapped. You need everything from these people, and that makes change an extremely difficult thing. How do you think you can? Is there a potential way that you can see this being solved? This particular problem being solved besides great influx of money in the country?
Well, there is nothing in this world that remains vacuum. Wherever there is a vacuum, someone will go there and something will go there and occupy that place. It cannot happen to remain vacuum. If this glass is vacuum, air fills in. If the air is removed, it will break. It cannot exist. So all these problems that you're saying was what a modern state was supposed to do. What modern state was supposed to belong. Here, when you are here in the United Kingdom, everybody in this country belongs somewhere. It is the tendency of humanity, human being, sunnada nolosh, that a human being must belong to somewhere. You cannot be someone who is just alone by himself. So here in the United Kingdom, you have when you're talking about politics, you go to the political parties. You go to other areas, civil society groups, when you're expressing your political views. When you are expressing your professional views, you go to professional entities. When you express your concerns about your work and work environment and the good work environment and things like that, you go to trade union. So privately, you go to other clubs that you belong to if you want to be a lead group or some group. So you have somewhere to listen when you have a problem, somewhere that will come and support you when you have a problem. In Somalia, we don't have all these things. The only thing that we have is our clan. So when I want to politics, I will go back to my clan. As you rightly said, when I want some support, I will go back to my clan and I ask Qaran Ali Arurio, I have this problem. And when I have security problem, I will go to my clan who will defend me. So this is it. The only way out is to gradually, which is starting now, to build those replacement. We need replacement. We cannot just move away from the clan without having where to go. We need a place to go. That's why political parties are now established. Anybody who's interested to have a political say, now politically I depend my clan, because if I wanted to become an MB, it's the clan who makes me the MB. I don't have a political party who will make me that. But if I get a political party that will have a votes from Hargeisa to Garowe to Kismayo to Baydhabo to Beledweyne, all the corners of Somalia, then I don't need to go to my qabil. I don't need. So it's all about how fast are we going to establish these institutions.
I think this is probably a good time, because since you were the president for a term, could you speak to anything that you potentially did that contributed to solving this problem, in terms of building state institutions, or things that you have concretely done in order to solve this issue?
We started, this is a long-term process. It's not something, it's not an event that happens and everything goes up. As today I said, reconciliation is not an event, it's a process that started somewhere and goes on. Now, when we started, all this goes back to how Somalia is going to have a functioning state institutions that is perceived by the people as a neutral entities, that all Somalis are equal and have a say. This is it. And then institutions, all of them are very important, but in a place like Somalia, institution, whatever you are doing, because you cannot do everything. Everything is priority, and the list is long. So you have to prioritize. This is what we make the prioritization is. If you have seen or you Google, you will see we make the 6-pillar policy framework of policies that to establish, based on priorities, 6 areas, and each pillar, it has so many other. So, security has always been number 1 and it still is number 1. Public finance management, justice system, all this. All this, to do it, you cannot do it one morning. You need to make the regulatory framework, the legislations. In order to run a public finance, you have to put a public finance law in place. If you wanted to establish, all this government state model that we were using, we are migrating, we are moving away from that model, highly centralized system, and now we're saying about decentralization, federalism, what the federal member states have to do, what the central government has to do, what we share. So it's not something that easy. We establish it and make it functional. For example, all the public finance management institutions, the central bank, the accountant general, the auditor general, the minister of finance, all put in place. As of now, working as any other institution of the world. We put in place consensual agreement among the different sectors of the society in Somalia, different corners of the policing model. When we're talking about security, we're talking about police. What police model do we use? And that gets, and the justice system, what judicial model we use. And that gets a huge questions that one has to answer. What is a federal criminal? What's a federal crime? What's a local crime? You have to go deep down and sift everything, That cannot happen in 1 term, in 2 term even. It takes longer. Where, again, the constitution is not clear. Constitution is professional. So many things in the constitution is contradicting each other. So the task is very complex and it's not easy. But it started and it's moving. Maybe someone can claim it's very slow, but it's moving and making progress.
My name is Ahmed. I do law here, and I was wondering, where do you see the Somali legal system in the next 10 to 15 years? Do you see the establishment of Islamic courts, and how do you perceive it? How do you enforce it?
Well, as of now, there is a justice system that has been up to a certain level agreed, but it's still under discussion. And that will not be the best one, the final one. But when you don't have anything and you're starting everything from scratch. And when you have something in place, and that something has to be improved or progressed. So there is that going on. I would like that specific question to refer to Dr. Ismail, who is the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Justice. So Dr. Ismail, can you say something, please?
Well, thank you very
Please
much.
sit down.
In Somar, Allah Arko.
Your question seems to be answered maybe one time or even twice. You know, it needs to be given a lot of explanation, but just try to answer to your last question, which is to do with the justice system. Normally, as the President just mentioned, Somalia was, you know, unitary state in the first place, so and become federal. So in order to have applicable system or judicial system, we have to federate justice as well. On that basis, we have been working on justice model called mixed model, which is quite suitable to our country. Normally, one country is a federal, it got to have two different justice models, one of which is called dual system, which is very difficult. Every federal member state has its own court, its own, you know, everything, just from A to Z, from district to high court, Supreme Court, they have their own judicial system. Another one, which is that one is the dual, it's very expensive. It needs to have a lot of staff. Nobody can financially and technically avoid. On that basis, we then have another judicial system which is called a mixed model. Probably Nigeria and South Africa use that one, which is quite suitable to our system. So on that basis, we have been working for the past couple of years, which one is suitable. Finally, federal system, you know, the federal government and federal member states discuss technically, probably back to 2015, up until January 2018, we have been working in an incremental process. We have been we began to agree chapter by chapter, one after the other, in an incremental process. So finally, we come together and have sign ceremony at Hirschel. I don't know whether you have ever heard before. Hirschel State, January 2018, 25 of January 2018, and we finalized to have a justice model, which is a mixed model. So that is still open document. Mm-hmm. It is living document.
Working,
it's still under discussion. So it just, you know, goes on to the next, you know, stage, which probably top government officials, Prime Minister and President, and of course, head of the state of federal member state will discuss. They will then discuss, hopefully, the next couple of months, and finally agree that will be the next justice system in Somalia.
Thank you.
I think I have a question related. So since we're talking about federal states, can you just like elucidate and make clear the relationship between the federal government right now and the states? How much leverage and power over them do you really have? Because sometimes we make a common joke that I, as president of Somali Society, just has as much power as you in that sense. And we want to make that quite clear. Do you have any leverage over that?
Well, good question. The power center in Somalia, we don't have such a strong and power center that controls everything in Somalia. The world, we're always pursuing, as I said, to become a very democratic country. So we claim ourselves that this is a democracy in the making, whatever you see. And when everything is in the making, there is a lot of noise and a lot of rubbish that everywhere is scattered. Now in Somalia, democracy in the world, the democracy is controlled by institutions, laws, cultures, deep down, what they call it, the deep state, that keeps so that politicians or leaders, they cannot do whatever they want, or they cannot disturb the setting of the state. The one in Somalia, we didn't reach that level yet. So we have its own, we made its own name, our own name for our democracy, what we call it, negotiated democracy. Everything has to be negotiated in Somalia. Of course, here in England, in the UK, let me say, everything, so many things are negotiated politically. No one can decide. But in a stable government, a stable state institution, there's a lot that the government can decide. Office of the Prime Minister can decide. Office of the Minister can decide something. Office of the houses, different houses can decide. But there in Somalia, literally, there is no center of power that can decide alone. For example, I was there, the highest office in Somalia. In the office of the president, nothing starts there. The president cannot initiate anything. Influence, networking, other things is separately, like legally, it's not there. Many things, they end up in the president's office. And many things, they end up before they reach the office of the president. So now, we have to negotiate. If we wanted to make a piece of legislation, let us say, as Dr. Ismail was saying, is some sort of judiciary system. The Minister of Justice will draft the law with his people, drafters, experts. They draft the law. The minister takes the draft to the cabinet with the presence of the Prime Minister. The cabinet reads, discusses this issue. They contribute, then they accept or they reject. They have the right to reject and they have the right to accept. After interfering, putting reviews here and there, most probably they accept. That's not the end. Then the draft will be taken again to the parliament. The parliament, when the speaker takes this draft, then he sends it to the parliamentary committee that does this thing. The parliamentary committee will take it. They will do their assignment for a couple of days, weeks, maybe months. When they finish, they bring back to the parliament in the plenary. Then again, the whole parliament in the plenary start discussing this piece of legislation again. So they add, they change, they reject, at the end they vote. And if the majority of the parliament endorses that piece of legislation, it's done. So that's not the end again. The speaker again now, he drafts the decision of the parliament, who votes pro, who votes against, who abstains, all he drafts, and then he put a paper and he sends it to the office of the president. Now again, the president with his advisors and all, they again read the whole thing. If they see okay, then the president signs. So now then it's law now, it's an act. Otherwise, the president sends back to the parliament saying, with all the weaknesses and problems he says, then the parliament has to again debate the issue. So you know, so how much time it takes one to initiate a piece of legislation until it becomes an act or a law. So this is what it's about. So what I mean is that, so the power, that's one. That's the moral of the state that we have, works like that. Everything is, one has to negotiate and one has to, that's number one. Number two, the central government, the president, the prime minister, the parliament, the cabinet, which is in the center in Mogadishu. And then we have a number of federal member states. Of course, a place like Somalia, there are a lot of challenges that the federal member states are facing. Some financial, some security problem, some capacity problem, so many problems are there, a lot. The center or the central government cannot do much, does not have enough money to support the salaries of the member states government or to support the education or to support whatever. To have no other what can do. So sometimes the question comes, why the federal member state who is there, what attracts him, why he attaches himself to the center if he's not if there is no any incentive out of that. And then the international community, the international development agencies, the NGOs, they deal directly to the, and there is a reason for doing that. You may need to go back and go through what's called the sovereign gap. There is a sovereign gap in Somalia, and because of that sovereign gap, the international community, they deal the way they want. And most of the international community and the international agencies, they carry a global agenda, not a country agenda, Somali agenda. So they directly deal with the federal member states. Now, the dilemma is how the center addresses this issue. How can I attract the federal member states so that we work together to get Somalia together? So it's all about that.
Agreed.
The only incentive that we have with us is to call them and say, now, let us establish our own forum, National Leaders Forum. In my time, we were having what we call it, the National Leadership Forum. That forum is the presidents of the states, the president of the republic, the prime minister, the speaker of the house. We get together in that forum. We discuss issues of national relevance, what we do, politics, security, all this. So we keeping them as incentive. You guys, you are the people who are making important decisions for the country. You represent Somalia, sit here. You are the leaders of Somalia. That was the only incentive that we had for them, and it worked up to a certain level.
So moving on to the next issue.
May I say something?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
I
Hassan.
think something very important is
Can you
missing.
introduce yourself first?
My name is Hassan. I'm an MP, Member of Parliament of Somalia. And I think in this setting, it's an academic setting, I think one thing is missing. I think the theoretical framework is missing. The element in the room, everybody, I think, in your questions, was this stemming from the fact this element in the room, what is the state in Somalia? The state of the state in Somalia. I mean, in Somalia, if you compare it here, I think your minds go back to England here, in Germany, and you talk about the Somali state.
No, I do politics. I do specifically African.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in Somalia, there was this colonial state. And that colonial state bequeathed the Somali state. So there is no natural Somali state. The clans of Somalia were brought together by the colonial state. And then in the 30 years experience, the Somali state and the state formation came to an end. There was this state destruction happening in Somalia. So we're starting from scratch again since the 1990s, the civil war and everything. So the processes we are now describing is again, we are trying to, in the process of state formation again. So we are not there, we are not there. I mean, there is a gap of what we call legitimacy and effectiveness. So the Somali state is a recognized, international is a recognized state. That's legitimate. But the effectiveness is not there because the state has been destroyed. And the Somali society is fragmented. So you have the Somalilanders, you have the Puntlanders, it's all over the place. So it's a messy thing. So I think, first of all, we need to start from the theoretical framework. So what happened to the Somali state and where we are and what stage we are. We cannot talk about economics. We cannot talk about entrepreneurship unless we talk about this element in the room, which is the Somali state. Where is it?
I agree with that. I fully agree with that. And I think it's worth taking into account the other examples of countries that may not necessarily be exactly the same, but have gone through similar processes. For example, if you look at the US, up until maybe 1930s, the states ruled, and it was only until sort of 1930s when there was strong central payments and a really strong economic incentive. So do we think Somalia can potentially have that leverage, that economic incentive, as in like oil, maybe resources? How close do you think Somalia is to reaching, well, the central government is to reaching that kind of economic incentive, maybe hitting oil or something like that?
You know, you must have heard the phenomena called the oil curse. Sometimes some of the natural resources, it's not panacea for all our problems. May create more problem than benefits. What's happening in South Sudan today is all about oil. They are rich. They got a lot of oil resources, but unfortunately, the resources has created conflict instead of creating development and better the resources. DRC Congo, it's almost 40 years now going on, and one of the richest country in the world with all types of resources in the world is there. But then, so the problem, the issue, as the Honorable said, is we need to have a state first. And to have a state first, we need to have understanding about the model of the state useful to Somalia and its own institutions. When we have a state and its own institutions functioning, then we can benefit. As we are divided now, fragmented society, if we get resources, we start to competing each other for the resources, and that's a very serious issue or disaster. So the best thing today in Somalia is dealing with the elephant in the room, as the Honorable said. That's the state. How do we build a functioning state institutions that the Somali people perceives it's a state, their own state. It's a neutral. It's for them. It's not against them. This is the challenge that exists today, and it's doable, but it needs time and effort, and it needs a process to go through. Thank you.
Referring to another elephant in the room, I think we're all sort of, before I get into this topic, I think just to preface it, we're also cognizant of the fact that it's essentially 10 men here and 1 woman. So we're going to be sort of discussing female issues, which is like quite important, I guess. So the first question we have, one of them is sort of like more, less serious, one is more serious. The first one, so like I have a young sister, and she's like quite an ambitious person. She wants to like grow up and do whatever she wants. And she often talks about becoming president. And I often ask her, where do you want to become president of? And she says, sometimes she says Somalia, right? So what would you say about the prospects of a female president?
Look, this is good, and I hope she can. Yeah. And she will, most probably. But one thing has to be very clear. As the MB said, Somalia has become a state in 1960. The first time that the colonial state was introduced was before that, late 19th century. So the first time that we got a state that we control is 1960, with the constitution, with everything. Of course, colonial model, the state was, but that day, the Somali women, they sit side by side with the Somali man. Somali girls, they were sitting with Somali boys in the classroom, in the schools, in the university, in the jobs. There was no any one single law in Somalia ever, it never happened, that segregates women. It never happened. But what we have is the culture, the tradition that I said earlier that come from the nomadic place, where muscles are more important than mine. To defend the livestock, to defend the clan territory, to watering very long water wells that needs a lot of strength to plow the farm to do. So that's where we're coming. The obstruction or the difficulties that the women, Somali women today is facing is all about tradition. It's all about the culture. But legally, Somalia, it has always been like that, and still is today. Man and women has no difference in the country. They are MPs, they are ministers, they have been up to the deputy prime minister, and there is no anything that stops them tomorrow to become a prime minister or a president. But it is the issue of the culture. Will women get enough votes to become a president? That has nothing to do with legal, that has nothing to do with the culture, that has nothing to do with the state institutions, that has to do with the perception of the people. And to change that perception, it will take years and years. That's number one. Number two, what I want to do, the Western civilization, existing some of it 1,000 years. When women started to be a human being in the West of today, in the United Kingdom, when was the first time a woman voted? When was the first time a woman was appointed in a bureaucratic office, let alone political office? In the United States, when was the first time the woman voted, not as a become MB or a political figure, but voted, right to vote? In 1960, when we become independent, our women, they have the right to vote and they have the right to stand in political position. Yes, we have this problem, and that problem can be solved only by education, by awareness raising. It cannot be reduced. But tomorrow we can provide a law that says women must have that, and that has to be. Now, last time when in the parliament that elected me as a president, there was 14% of that parliament were women, while it was supposed to be 30%. But under no circumstances, because clan elders were nominating the MPs, they said, do I nominate a woman for my clan? No. So instead of becoming 30, that's how they become 14. In 2016, we said, no, we have to realize this 30% of the parliament, women has to come. We enforce it. We allocated seats. It said, this seat, only women can compete. No man can compete this seat. That's why they reached 24% instead of 30. Still, there is a 6% gap. So, but now we are going to politics. We are going to political party and elections. If I nominate a woman as a potential MB in my party, Asha, the other party will nominate Asha's brother as an MB, and the clan will give Asha's brother the vote, will not give. So every step you move forward, there are always challenges. We are moving more towards democratization, but it has its own challenges. And in many African countries, women's seats in the parliament are nominated seats. They are not elected seats. Yes, now the 24% that we have in the parliament, all of them, they were not seats that were allocated. Some of the women, they compete. Some of them, they compete with the man, and they succeeded. They become MP in the parliament. Not all seats were allocated. Still, the women can compete, and I'm sure they will get seats, but that seats will not be, at this initial stage, will not be enough as 30% or 40% or 20%. It can. We are not expecting that, but definitely in 2020, the elections that come, there will be a woman that will compete and who will get the seat. So it's a process that is going on, and I'm sure that once stable Somalia we get, once we get political stability, once we set all the rules of the game, the political game, I'm sure that that also women's position in the politics will also make progress. So tell your sister that she has all the chance to become a president in Somalia. Thank you. Thank you.
To wrap up, I guess, with one last question. I guess we're sort of short on time. So, what do you think of your legacy as president, and how do you think history will see you?
Well, one thing that exists is that in a post-conflict environment, people, they do not agree the history. Always. It's like that. The hero of someone is the tyranny of another one. So it's like that. But I'm sure the last 4 years, which was a very, very, very small, short term that I was in the office of the president, I'm sure that I left some legacy that the Somali people consensually agreed that this is a legacy. One good example is the issue of the Somalia maritime dispute with Kenya. The way we handle it, we got a lot of credit from Somali people, and we believe that we saved Somalia from a very serious risk. those who know the international law can understand the level of risk that we have been in. We were so close that we missed the opportunity to go to the court, and Kenya, which we cannot compete forcefully now, would have taken that territory maybe another 30, 40, 50 years, but we get it. So that's one. So many other millions of other Somalis who have some sort of mistrust, who have some sort of fear from other Somalis, will give us a lot of credit in putting the foundations for the federation in Somalia. We were the people who put that federation in place. Yes, people who are there anti-federal and who doesn't believe that federalism and federation is good for Somalia, but the millions of Somalis, particularly those who are inside Somalia, are there who still see the only way out is the federalism. So we have that credit, that level. Or the other thing that I don't want to mention, but there are so many other points, couple of other points that the time will tell that it was good legacy. Maybe today not, but after a couple of years, I'm sure that there's a couple of other issues that they're already started now, the Somali people recognizing some of the good legacy that we put in place, but there are others that we are still waiting. Time will make it a very clear legacy. Thank you.
So I guess this was quite an interesting conversation. This is like the first that we've had so far. So yeah, hopefully there'll be more like this.
I'd like to thank you as well.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This has been like a pleasure. So go ahead. Yeah.
Say again. Well, it's good. Look, the foreign direct investment is what I said is good for Somalia, but it's good for Somalia when Somalia is ready, when Somalia has the right institutions to work with these investors, the right institutions that protect the rights of those investors, the right institutions that protect the Somali people not to be abused, the Somali resources not to be abused, the Somali environment not to be abused. So it's not something of today. What we are advocating fully, and I want to become an ambassador, is can we bring back the Somali money back to Somalia, Somali investors? Can we call Somali investors now? Somali investors, they do not abuse the people, most probably. They do not abuse the environment. It's not huge, big conglomerates that can abuse the environment and the whole country. So what I'm ready to be an ambassador is to encourage the Somalis to invest back the country, not only money, but also the brains, the intellectual capital, the knowledge, the experience that they had, to come back and to invest in Somalia. Right now, that's what Somalia needs today. Tomorrow, when we make the setup, all the necessary institutions in place, all the necessary laws in place, then we can advocate and we can call foreign direct investments to come. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. maya aniga I don't know what does mean colonial map ma uma fahamsani laakiin waxaan rabaa inaan ku sheego In 1963, when the African Union was established, there were certain issues that has been agreed as a continental level. One of them was the colonial borders to be respected. Somalia has refused that, of course, those days, but majority of the African countries, they take, and it still is valid in So in Somalia, we have a very clear agreement that has been made, a border demarcation by the Italian colony and the British colony in Kenya. So those demarcations are there, the beacons are there, they are registered in the international. Then there is an international law then that guides how the maritime border is referred to the land. And we have very clear beacons in the land to refer between, an agreement is between Italy and United Kingdom in those days. So Somalia's case, what it makes very strong is the very clear indications, and Somalia's case, our argument is applicable to the international standard. What we say, that there are certain international procedures for the demarcation of the territorial waters. What we are claiming is compatible and in coherence with the international. What Kenya is complaining and what Kenya is advocating has no place in the international law. That's what makes our case very strong. It's there.
I just wanted to ask a question about the legacy. For the first 2 years of your presidency, I was actually living in Somalia, and as someone that grew up in the West, I didn't really understand what was going on at the time, but now I've got the opportunity to ask. So there were 3 different prime ministers, I think, in your whole term. I just wanted to understand what that was, why that was the case, and if it was your fault, basically, or if it was, yeah.
You know, as I said at the beginning, we Somalis, the issue of politics is what we are doing it now. We have not been working political institutions for a long time, and we have not practiced it. Now we practice it, of course, we have experience. When we go into the office, when I go into the office in 2012, I was having very good ideals. I read from the books, I read from stable countries, how they function. I made a lot of studies and researches and all this. So I was carrying a lot of ideals that this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. Case in example, when I went there, we said Somalia, its budget is this limited. We don't have resources. We don't have territories still and the government control. So Somalia cannot afford more than 10 ministries. Our cabinet must be 10 people. It can't be more than that. That was very difficult because Somalia, as I said, is a consensus based, and almost all clans, they have to have a stake in the cabinet. So it was very difficult. So we have to struggle for the endorsement of that cabinet in the parliament and all this, and we succeeded that. It was very difficult, but we succeeded. The issue now is the first prime minister. He was a very good guy, very honest, sincere Somali. He's a good guy. The only thing is that the issue of experience was not there. And for us, we know that we have 4 years only. We don't have enough time, so we need to do a lot of things and move very fast. So that was the main reason that we were unable to combat with the prime minister, things to happen in the ground as fast as we want, as I want, particularly as an elected president. So that was where our differences come from. But other than that, his personality, his Somaliness, is a very good guy. The second prime minister, unfortunately, he was maybe having some sort of capacity, but I will say maybe he will say maybe the same, but I would say he was so power-oriented, he was not respecting this division of power that Somalia has. You know, one has to respect it's not I like or I dislike. It's there and it's by law. So if you do not respect the law of the land, it doesn't help. So my second prime minister, I was unable to convince him to respect the law of the land and the division of the power, the parliament, the cabinet, the presidency. There's bits and bits. So that's where the conflict started. And then at the end, he went off. Then the third prime minister came. Of course, we ourselves, I was, my ambition was coming down because of the reality on the ground, convincing. The third prime minister is someone who was morally acceptable. I would not say there's no one perfect, including myself. But we somehow agreed to work together consensually, and we understand each other. And that was the best thing that we do. Again, it was consensus-based, dialogue-based, not more of struggling with the prime minister's power, my power. One of the difficulties Somalia has is these three powers that are allocated to different institutions. It is something that exists in the world. But the world is mature enough in a way that they can bring together those pieces and move together in one direction. The problem in Somalia is that, number one, we cannot bring them together and move it in one direction. If we bring together, we want to move different direction. So it doesn't work for us. So in the last 2 years of my tenure, we at least agreed to bring together and move in one direction. Maybe we forgot those directions that we differ, but those directions that we were common, which mainly was politics and security, we move it together, and that was the main reason that this thing has happened.
Okay, so I guess we're just trying to, I'm sorry,
I think at this point,
honestly, yeah, so I think we should just sort of close it off.
Maybe you invite me another time and we'll be here.
Abdi, do you
I just
have,
want to
yeah.
say that thank you for coming to visit us in Oxford. We're very grateful that you have given us your time, and we hope that other leaders in Somalia, and especially in industry and all the other, that can come and give us their perspective of what's going on.
yeah.
And we don't want to take any more of your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please do follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
We will hopefully be doing this
Thank you.
again and again on Friday.
Next Friday.
Thank you very much, and it has been a great opportunity for me as well.